By the way, I'm having major issues these days.
Major issues? What kind of major issues?
Putting. But
Putting.
I'm the self-proclaimed best putter I know, and I suck right now, man.
Well,
Um,
maybe what if I told you we're gonna bring on somebody that can maybe help you a little bit?
that would be a gift. I would appreciate it.
Okay.
Anything to get
Uh,
my game better.
yeah, okay. Well, let's do this in 5, 4, 3.
Tricks, you know what I'm talking about? That lettuce, that lettuce. Gotta get it. Gotta get it. That lettuce, that lettuce, focused all on the check. Yeah, all I want is lettuce. Yeah, just give me the lettuce. Yeah, just give me the lettuce.
Let us heads, we are back with another edition of Please Let Us Golf, the podcast. And today you have Goldie and Golfberg. And in just a minute, we're bringing on a guest to deep dive probably what is the single biggest golf technology and equipment revolution of the last decade. Plus, I don't say
Wow.
that lightly, right? I say I'd argue since the 2004 release of the Pro V1, have we seen a disruption of this scale?
Hmm.
And like you're in for a real treat, real treat. I promise you that. But before we indulge in that treat, a little business. A quick reminder that as your favorite 100% independent golf media brand, we want you to head over to Please Let Us Golf, the shop at pleaseletusgolf.com. And we're doing everything in our power, right? We're keeping up with demand, restocking some of these first heavy hitters that just flew off the shelves. Mr. Golfberg, I want to kick it over to you for a second. Or let me be serious. Aaron, we're going to break the fourth wall. No
Okay.
monikers. Aaron, I'm truly blown away by the initial support. So what are you seeing over there in Seattle? I got the Southeast covered. What are you seeing?
Well, this is our baby, and we're so proud of it, and we're taking it so seriously. And I hate that all we're getting are complaints, man. I mean, complaint after complaint. Luckily, they're positive complaints. It's like, can
Yes.
I buy a shirt? I saw the
Yes.
shirt. I want the shirt. Why is everything selling out so quickly? Which we're blown away by that things are moving so quickly, and just super grateful for all that. But no, everyone out here is loving it. Seeing a lot of
Yep.
orders go through, a lot of lettuce out in the wild.
All the international lettuce heads. We joke around sometimes like, oh, we were top 5 in Sweden this week. But we just got our monthly pod metrics and, we love the data. We dive into the data. But UK, Canada, India, Italy, Germany, Norway, Finland, Denmark, Sweden, New Zealand, and Australia, all it's making up about 25% of our monthly downloads at this point. So not just a USA thing, but we understand, we appreciate the international love. We hear you, we see you. Shoot us a DM or contact us at pleaseletusgolf.com and we'll try to work something out to get you some merch your way if you want it that bad. So okay, back to why we're here today.
Hmm. To
So
solve
what
my putting problems,
yes,
right?
this was all just a big ploy to help you.
Thank you.
But you've heard multiple times on the podcast, one of, if not our favorite part of the game to discuss and deep dive is all things putting.
Hmm.
Everybody else is obsessed with chasing distance, swinging weighted sticks, getting that swing tip on Instagram that panacea that's gonna fix it all, right? But we want you focused back on the greens, which means stress-free two putts and start lines that give the ball a damn chance to go in the hole. So today's guest is helping you do that. He has done it as the founder and CEO of L.A.B Golf, who has previously mentioned has revolutionized the golf technology space with bringing lie angle balance technology to the mainstream. Probably bucking years of criticism and haters. Maybe a couple cynics are hosting today's podcast and paving the way for the future, what putting is going to look like at all levels of the game. So let us heads, without further ado, please welcome to the podcast, Mr. Sam Hahn. Sam, how are we doing?
Pretty good this morning. Beautiful day. Fall is upon us here in full swing. Some of the leaves are already starting to change out here.
Let me ask you. So you're in Oregon, right, Sam?
Yes, sir.
Does fall scare you the way it does? I'm just a state north in Washington, but it gets wet here fast, and I don't think we have enough sand in our turf, so it just gets right around November. It gets sloppy up here, and golf is a little unmotivating. But what's it like down there for you over the winter?
Fairly similar. Yeah, I think, usually late November is about the time when we start, picking the ball up and cleaning it off before we
Yeah.
hit the next shot. But I don't mind winter golf. I find it pretty cozy, and make sure you get all the right gear. And having a golf course that does spend their money on sand definitely helps. We drain pretty good out here at Emerald Valley, and then my job also enables me to travel to some warm places during the
That's for
winter. So
sure.
I don't get too scared. And all for me, best day of the year is when football season starts, but not for the same reasons as everybody else in America. It just means I get my golf course back. So
Yeah. I'm in the Southeast, so college football, like Saturday mornings, I can actually go do a little bit of practice and nobody's out there. This is a wonderful time of year for me.
for
Now the
sure.
two little kids sometimes don't always make that possible. Hey, I didn't think our icebreaker was going to be Oregon versus Washington turf conditions coming up, but hey, like I told you, Sam, we could go anywhere at this. And normally, I know most of the time people are going to jump into context. Just give us the backstory that there's some of that we want to get into, but I got a little icebreaker for you. Um, so I saw a clip doing a little research, before the pod. We want to have our shit together. You won a club championship with the Mez, where I heard you say, and correct me if this is wrong, with 9 putts on the back nine to close it out, and then decided it wasn't your favorite L.A.B putter and switched back to another model. So the question is, like, what the hell is wrong with golfers? Not just specific to you. Like, nothing is ever good enough for us. So, like, what was going on there? You just rolled 9 putts and 9 holes, and then you said, I think I'll go back to the OG model.
Well, I actually have that putter sitting right here.
Oh, God, we love show and tell.
Uh,
Sam is reaching for the actual putter.
so this was they actually retroactively lasered it for me. So this was the prototype number one. It was actually originally, as you can see there, called the Mezzo, not just the Mez. So we found out, I think it was Cleveland had a putter called the Mezzo, and then after I won, they took it apart for me and lasered that on there. Emerald Valley Club champ. Yeah, I mean, this was and yeah, a little different too. Grooves on this one are lasered on rather than milled on, and a raw head, and then that's carbon steel, so it started to rust and actually turn color. I actually like it better now with the rusty section. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it kind of looks.
Obviously, anytime you get a new putter, it's always exciting, and honeymoon is very real. And so that had come off the mill, I don't think more than 24 hours before the club championship started. And so I was like, fuck it, I'll give it a shot. And I played a good first round, mostly on some good ball striking, some fine putting for sure. And then I was on the 12th tee, I think 4 down, to the guy who's now, at the time he wasn't, but now is our director of fitting. Calvin Green is a really, really good player. He kicks ass in all the Oregon State stuff. And yeah, I made one from off the green on 12. And yeah, I don't know what to say. I putted the lights out. I found a good feel with it. I found a setup, but I do remember it was, there's a, so for whatever reason, the Mez sets up shut to me. I just aim it left. And
Interesting.
there's, something to be said for having like an awareness like that, where my focus was on making sure that I was borrowing a little extra on the right side, just because I knew that I was pointing it left. And so I think just taking kind of the focus off the results, off the whatever, lent itself to a hot round. But yeah, I think I probably used it for another week or so after that. And went back to the D2.1. But it's a sweet putter. I mean, and every putter's different. They all have their own different life and their own different tendencies amongst the people that use them. And like the Mez is a really popular putter. The Mez Max is a even more popular putter. And when you look at data around where people generally aim, most people are outside aimers, or at least a good number of them. And so, they put the Mez in their hands, and all of a sudden they're pointed where they think they are, and
they slightly pull it in there.
Right. And I'm
What are you saying? Most people think they're aimed, but they're aimed outside of their line. When you
correct?
Said outside?
Yeah, most people are aim wide of their, and it's not a. The vast majority of golfers don't aim well. Period.
Yeah.
And then the split of, if you're not aimed well, where you think you are slightly favors those who aim outside the target, inside the target. I'm the opposite. I'm an inside aimer generally. I fight a left aiming Yeah, everybody's a little different.
Well, that's a good little pro tip. So now I can do some psyops if I've got a good match and someone's got a mez. About you don't know how to
You
aim.
must
You
be
aim a
ready,
little right.
right?
You just pull. Yeah, you tug your putts in. That's what you do. So you like to hit a little draw
To
spin.
tug 'em.
Actually, shout out to our guy real quick. He didn't know he's going to get this. So we recently were hosted out at Valley Neal, and our good friend Ted Bradley, recently a mez adopter. It's one of my talking points to you. I'm kind of mad at you. These guys that I feel like I should be separating on the greens from. He's all in. He's putting at an incredibly high level. He's a great golfer as is, but he's a mez guy. But now next time I know, I'll be like, oh, you're just a little pull putter. It's okay. But no, it's definitely good. But I'll get us back on the rails. I'll be the adult in the room for 1 second.
Please.
So I mentioned we're all from Highland Park, Illinois. I figured that out when we were doing some research. It's exciting. I think probably some 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon between you and Aaron, a little closer in age than me. But so you're a Highland Park kid, right? Highland Park High School. Is that right?
I'm class of '99, and little known fact for any of you Giants out there, I was the Giant my senior year. I was the mascot.
Oh
No shit.
hell yeah. Yeah. My dad wanted me to drop this. So I'm not going to hear the end. You know how that goes. I'm not going
Sure.
to hear the end of it if I don't. But yeah, he was the 1975 captain of the golf team at Highland Park High School. So, if that tidbit didn't get dropped.
I requested an audit on that fact, though. We're going to see
Yeah.
if that's actually real. We'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, maybe he was just on the team, but captain was specifically thrown out to me.
But yeah, both our dads went to Highland Park High School. I'm not from Highland Park. He was moved before then, but a bunch of our best friends, North Shore Chicago kids went to
Sure.
University of Illinois. So definitely no
How old are you
that's
guys?
circle. Your age. I graduated in 99, same as you, high school. So
From where?
well, I was in Vegas.
Oh,
At
okay.
that point.
Yeah, and then ended up coming out to University of Illinois.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You ever eat El Forno's pizza in Deerfield?
Of course. Did I go to birthday parties when I was a child? Of course I did.
Yeah. My mom and dad started it, and then it was sold over to my aunt and cousin. So
Oh, no
look,
shit.
yeah. So it's good pizza. It's good pizza. I have shitty pizza here, so I long for it. So now, so I'm a little south of Atlanta.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
shitty pizza.
It's all
Shitty pizza
shitty
out here too.
They do boiled nuts really well, though. That's the big thing around Andrew. Boiled nuts.
It's good.
I'm not a fan.
He doesn't like them, but I told him he got a pretty bad batch. But if you do them right,
we bought them off on the side of the road on the way to Augusta one year, and I was like, "Damn, this is real."
Yeah.
That's the
thing. You got a bad batch. Wow. I said I was getting us on the rails, but let's do some more free ads for family pizza restaurants to consume some time. But give us the Spark Notes version of Highland Park, Oregon. I know there's a music dream that then ends up of launching L.A.B in 2018. So give us a little bit on that.
Yeah, so I had a band in high school, Polenta.
Hell yeah.
And,
what instrument?
I play guitar and I was a singer, and
Okay.
we were good. I still keep in touch with all those guys, and so then when I graduated high school, I never had any intention to go to college, and I had a good pal, Packy Crane. You guys may know.
I know Pat. I knew Packy. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So Packy one day was packing up his shit and headed to go to University of Denver. I had been living downtown for, I don't know, 6-8 months, something like that. Lease ran out, and I had no idea where I was going to go, so I just jumped in the car with him, drove out to Denver, ended up in Boulder, and started, paying for my life, just playing music on the street and panhandling and stuff. And
how did you have the confidence to not go to college right away? I mean, just coming from that world where probably everyone around you is.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
I don't know. I never had any interest. I was a terrible student. I graduated with a 1.7 grade point average. And actually, do you remember Myra Loris? She called me into her office like 2 days before graduation, and she's like, "Are you planning on going to college?" And I was like, "No, just promise me that you're not planning on going to college." I'm like, "It's a weird question." Yeah, that's my. I'm like, "Why?" She's like, "Well, you failed your final, which means you wouldn't graduate, but I can't do that to your mother. So as long as I'm not screwing the education system, I will."
Damn, dude!
I really was a terrible student.
But how were you as a mascot though?
was a badass mascot.
Okay,
brought
that's okay.
brought the energy. I just kind of like was couch surfing on all my friends who went to college, all their couches and their various dorms and stuff, and all around the West Coast, and playing music in different towns and stuff. I ended up in Eugene. I met a girl and a guitar player in the same 5 minutes, and decided to kind of post up here and started a band here. We did pretty well for ourselves in the Northwest. We used to take some, summer tours and stuff like that around, mostly west of the Mississippi, and got pretty good at, just dealing with that, the logistics of booking tours. And there's a lot of great acts out there that just don't have the time or the know-how to book a tour. So I parlayed that into a small talent agency, and was booking tours for bands and stuff like that. Then I got a job at a local venue here in town, or it actually wasn't a venue at the time. It was just a bar, and I worked with the owner to turn it into a venue, and did that for 13 years, and then mixed about kind of 5 years before I stopped working over there. I started my own place called Blair Alley with a couple of guys, and it's a vintage arcade type of deal with a couple of big stages in there. We do a lot of live music, and so all of this, kind of nighttime work, or self-employment land, left me a lot of time during the day. When I grew up in Highland Park, I knew how to play. But wasn't like into it. I'd play, a dozen times a year with my dad, and that would be about it. And then when I got my first place in Eugene, it was right next to a dog-friendly golf course. I had a dog, and I just started playing just as an excuse to run him around. Met the fellow who is now the head of our player development department, Matt Schuth, scratch player, and we just started playing together all the time. And I got the bug, and I was probably somewhere between a 15 and an 18 at the time, handicap, and then I was a scratch player like 2 years later, and went, just full psycho, and
Hell yeah.
and was always super duper duper into equipment. And then one day I was out here at Emerald Valley. It's a awesome golf course. It's a public track. It's where the Ducks play. Super tight. Lots of 150 foot tall fir trees on every fairway, or lining every fairway. And the instructor out here was a fellow named Bob Duncan, and he had just been to Tasmania, where he came across the directed force Reno 2.1, which is what we know today as the directed force 2.1, and insisted that I try it. And, I had the same reaction to it everybody else did. I thought it was absurd looking, and felt gimmicky, and the, finish was cheap, and the logo was cheesy, and, it was like, whatever, dude.
And you said Tasmania?
Tasmania.
That's
Yeah,
where this thing came from originally?
no, so
Oh,
there's a guy named Bill Cressy.
okay.
Bill's from Reno. His father is from Australia, and
Okay.
so there was kind of a small little presence down in Australia. He was involved in the company as well, and there's a really famous track in Tasmania called, I can never pronounce it right, Barnbogle.
Barnboogle Dunes, yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
and so he was down there, and ran into an Australian pro who knew William, who got the putter, and whatever. So
Right.
I go out to go play 9 holes with the putter, and I one putted the first 7 greens. I made about 150 feet worth of putts in
And then you
7
threw it
holes.
away and said, "This putter's just not good enough. I needed 5 putts through 7."
Well, you
No.
know what? The part of the story that I leave out. So I did go. I purchased a putter on the spot. Had it shipped to me a few days later, and I usually leave out that the next 2 weeks was the worst putting I've ever experienced in my life, like by far, because I never would have allowed myself to putt that bad, because I would have switched putters and rode a honeymoon until that one went cold,
Right.
but I got myself into a bit of a pickle because everybody knew I was like a lunatic with the putters, and when I got this thing, I'm like, guys, I've done it. I found it. This is the one. And everybody's laughing at me for spending, $400 on a, putter that, looked like an infomercial product. And then I was so dug in, and it would have been embarrassing for me to drop the putter at this point because of what a big deal I made out of it. So I'm like playing exclusively by myself. I don't want to have anybody watch me, missing these tiny little short putts, and struggling as bad as I was. So there's the 13th hole out here is this awesome par 5. It's generally a 3-shot hole. You can get it up somewhere near the green, but actually getting it on the surface is tough. I do it a couple times a year. I hit it to like 4 feet. I got 4 feet for eagle. and I didn't even touch the hole. I mean, I full ball on the left, and uh, I
That's a
literally
moment.
just like, fell down on this is it's like 7 o'clock at night. There's nobody on the course, and I just like collapse and I fall down on the golf course, and I'm like looking up at the sky, and and that's when it occurred to me. I've seen it. I've seen with my own eyes that this putter is squaring itself up. And so I know if I'm missing putts, it ain't the putter. That's the one time I've ever had a putter that I could say that about. I know that starting it online shouldn't be the issue. I must be manipulating it, or as it turned out, in apropos of our earlier conversation, it was alignment for me. I was aimed really, really poorly, and that putter is working harder than any putter in history to go where you aim. Um, and sure enough, I checked it out on a chalk line, and I was aimed a million miles to the left, and it took me a minute to kind of recalibrate a ball position and a distance from the ball, and some other changes. And that 2 weeks was the most important. It was the most important part of the journey to get us to where we are today, because I had to learn the technology. I had to figure out how to unlock it. And in learning it, I learned how to talk about it. I learned how to explain it to people. And, that's where we'd been struggling in the past, or where directed force had been struggling in the past, is like, here's this incredible technology. But, with the revealer and, not being the inventor and as deeply emotionally attached to, how people are receiving it, that helped.
But like you said, when you're putting bad, you're switching equipment, you're switching technique, anything you can to find it. But you knew something was different with this one. Like it's actually you that needed to change. Like I need to adjust to this technology because it's steadier. It's different than these other putters I've used, and you knew that at least,
Yes,
um, for sure. Um,
100%. I mean, yeah, absolutely. And what was funny was, as I look back on kind of the sequencing of the whole thing, um, uh, that first 7 holes that I played with it that blew my mind, I didn't have any short putts. And I
so
think
not forcing anything for
I would have
sure.
gotten exposed, and
Right.
so, um, they were all long putts. And for me, and it's the same thing that a lot of people experience with lap putters, where um, it's about 70-30. About 70% of people have really good success from kind of medium short range right away and struggle with speed. And then 30% is kind of the exact opposite. I fell into the latter category there, where my lag putting improved so quickly, because I chalk it up to the forgiveness. I mean, it's just an incredibly
Yeah.
consistent, face across the face, and where nobody has the center of the face from 15, 20 feet. Like we're missing it ever so slightly, and the directional dispersion and certainly the speed dispersion that can occur, uh, definitely step up. And so the DF had me making 30 footers all the time, and but yeah, having to work through whole journey was tough, but ultimately very valuable in our ability to talk about it.
For sure. And we have our own unique kind of introductions to lab. Like when we were first exposed to it, what did we think about it? For me, it was a couple of years ago, and my friend loaned it to me. He just had a baby, so like I can't even golf, so just use this thing for a bit. And I'm out on the course in the practice screens, and the long putts, they felt incredible. And it was like, holy shit, but I was noticing I was missing 8 footers or 6 footers, and I was telling Goldie about this. I'm like, there's something I love about this putter. It's teaching me to sweep the putter in a way that I wasn't used to. And I feel like with the longer putt, it's like all you have to do is just take it back and let it go forward. But
Right.
clearly, I was fighting something with the shorter putting. I'm probably used to taking more control, really guiding it on that line. So whatever I'm doing, push and pull in. But I ended up giving the putter back and saying thank you. And for years, I'm talking to people about, oh, I actually used a lab for like a month. It got me better at putting, but then I went back to my spider because I'm more comfortable with it. But like now, I'm a couple steps beyond that now with what I think about lab and where I'm headed with, hopefully with lab. But it is interesting. I knew there was something there, but I wasn't smart enough as you knew, because you obviously knew the tech. You're like, no, you need to actually work with this thing and let it guide you.
I kind of teed it up. I was like, Sam, I'm a little mad at you. You know, Golfberg, he just had his personal anecdote. But you guys are talking about equipment hopping and like learning and figuring it out. And for me, my journey with Lab, I've always been a self-proclaimed very good to exceptional putter, especially on the speed control side for when you're talking to the, let's just call the competitive amateurs. And I was a blade guy forever. And then the mallets are getting popular and the two balls, and I'm rolling my eyes at everyone. Then the spider kind of mini revolution happens. I finally get bit by that. I switch to a spider. I haven't gone back from there. A couple of variants of that. But fast forward, I think my first interaction with a Lab in person was maybe 3 years ago at like a member guest, and somebody had, I don't remember which one it was, but you know, everyone's kind of rolling their eyes at him, da da da. This guy's really searching, he's chasing, you're not putting in the work. And without just like glossing over a massive change over the last few years, 2 weeks ago, I'm at Russell Henley's charity event at he's from where I live now, his local country club that he grew up on. He does an annual event in September, and I'm out there. And I'm not kidding, at least 1/3 of the practice putting green is Lab putters. And just the dichotomy of like that moment from 3 years ago to where we're at today. I have this operating theory, which might be like antithetical to Lab marketing. But what I've noticed is it's taken, I don't know if it's much about taking a bad putter and you're just like an average putter now. But if you're an average putter, I've seen guys become really, really, really good putters quickly after going through that 1 month calibration period.
Yes, what you're talking about is absolutely. We see the transition period for your higher handicappers and shittier putters be much shorter, and in fact, most of the time it's just straight up immediate. Like we get accused a lot of times of like, oh, Lab's all marketing and this and that. It's like you can market your way to an entry into a market, but if the product doesn't work, you can't be here 8 years later continuing to grow. Like the reason that we're growing is because people at home, to your point, are putting better. They're seeing their friends putt better with one than they did before, and it makes you think. And so the tech really works, and I would say most amateur golfers, whether they realize it or not, are effectively approaching putting as though their putter does stay square by itself. They're not thinking about the actual management of the instrument, which is why there's so much instruction about managing the instrument and releasing the toe and, whatever, on and on and on. And so I think when people get a Lab in their hands for the first time, it's just a lot easier to be target oriented instead of technique focused. And I think that there's a lot of good, people who have the other skills required to make putts, i.e. reading greens and good touch, people who are good pool players, good dart players that are shitty putters. And then they get a Lab and all of a sudden they putt pretty well, because now it's a lot more like throwing darts or shooting pool, where you're not worried about the instrument. The instrument, is going to respond to how you release it. And it's much the same with Lab. When you get into your better players, and this is the sort of battle I fight with a lot of the putting gurus out there, where their main critique of Lab is that you lose feel. You lose an awareness of where the putter head is. And there's no question but that it's a different feel and a different awareness, but you don't lose it. And I think that that's where, there's still a lot of education and a lot of experimentation and testing that needs to get done to understand how to make this, how to make the transition. But, the good player, what we see, we saw this for years on tour, where they would come and, check out the bag, roll a few putts. Our putters roll the ball really well. The actual tightness of the roll. And particularly when it was just the DF, like it was, so forgiving. And I would do a demonstration with the revealer where I'm hitting putts off the toe and the heel and they're going dead straight and, and arriving, at the hole at a pretty good speed. And they'd be blown away and they go grab one. go play a practice round with it, and that first 4-footer that they miss, they get spooked because they don't know why, because the experience of the face shutting or open or whatever it is that caused them to miss the putt didn't feel like it does with other putters. And so it takes a minute to sort of develop that new bag of tricks. What we've seen on tour is that the folks that pick it up on a Monday or Tuesday and put it in play on Thursday, it's out of the bag the following week. The people that grab it on a Monday or Tuesday, take it home when they have 2 weeks off, generally give us a ring 3-4 days into it and say, like, there's something here, there's something going on here, but I'm experiencing this or I'm experiencing that. And, we understand the reasoning why, and we talk them through it. And then, once they kind of get into it, you don't see a ton of tour guys who have used it go back, to conventional. There's certainly some, but not that many. And it's the same. It's sort of with your better players. Once you have the lay down on the 13th green and realize that you need a different mentality to use this putter, it's very difficult to go back. And the mentality shift is that with every other putter I've ever used, I was trying to keep it square, and now I'm trying to let it stay square. And it often does require some changes to your setup, to your technique, to the way swinging the putter, which, in your case, like, if you're a good putter, why would I do that? Why would I change the thoughts and
But
about.
and the reason why I would consider it for me, just as as an anecdote to anybody listening, is I am, but as I'm getting a little older, as I'm not grinding and practicing, I am doing everything you said. I'm finding myself pre-round doing a lot of manipulation to get comfortable on the lines. And then, and there's some days I get out there and you kind of have that little tweak and you feel that center putt and it hits a line you want. You're just not, then I'm not mechanically thinking.
Right.
But that is certainly the part of that I'm struggling with personally the most, is just the confidence of that line starting. It hasn't really impacted anything of, lag putting, and it's certainly not in the green reading, but I've just noted that it's requiring manipulation. And then, like even getting that putter kind of flush to the ground. Right. And it's like, oh, well, it is, but now I feel like I'm healing everything. So I'm now I'm kind of having it toe down a little bit, and that feels good for today. And it's just happening frequently.
Yeah,
So
you're with it, like toe down, toe up, ball
yeah,
position changes, like those are all you trying to reestablish your relationship with the way that putter torques.
right.
Forward
And
press.
to your point,
Yeah.
playing a shitload of golf and spending the time at home to calibrate all this stuff and to ensure that your eyes are in the same spot every time,
Yeah.
it's hard.
I like to use that eye line putting mirror as like it's
Mhm.
like the only gadget I'll use to kind of help my putting. But what it's really teaching me, at least, is I need to bring my putter back straight, and I just need to pop the ball, and I need to make sure that line doesn't change. You know what I mean? Like, it just needs to be
Sure.
straight. So it's really like squaring up the
But
club face.
it's
So
so
now
hard with the torque putter, though.
you've introduced a putter that literally just automatically squares up the putter face. Are you like is that what your hair looks like? Are you pulling your hair out of your skull going like, what the fuck is wrong with everyone that they're not just jumping immediately? Especially I get a guy like Phil Mickelson, who is just, nobody has
He's,
better touch than him.
he's using a putter.
But he's spent his whole life being able to manipulate things at the highest possible level. So maybe he's just like, to him, it's like, this is like a cheat code. Like, fuck off.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I've worked my whole life trying to like keep this putter in line, and now you're telling me I don't even have to. So, and by the way, I heard you say in an interview too, when you were talking to these other golf companies about potentially like buying you guys or investing with you, these big manufacturers are coming and be like, oh yeah, this shit's amazing. It works. But like, that wasn't enough to get them to want to move forward with the deal. Right. Like, oh yeah, you guys are doing exactly what you said. You revolutionized putting, but we're fine.
This isn't a fluff piece for L.A.B. This is just a reality. Even what we're running into, trying to be organic, independent, holistic coverage of golf, and not just beholden to professional golf coverage, is on the manufacturing side. There is gatekeeping in golf. There's no way of getting around it. And for what you guys have done, to disrupt is the easiest word, in the time you have, to the significance of the market share, at least stateside, it really is incredible. Whether you love L.A.B putters or not, the system's kind of designed to suppress in a way. they want to put lipstick on the same pig and roll out the same marketing plan for the next decade of here's your 5 yards, here's your 5 yards. The driver went from blue to red, all this kind of stuff. So your guys is kind of laser focus on not falling into the pitfalls of, well, let's go squirrel and find every market opportunity for things that aren't like these 4 or 5 variants of putters. It really is admirable. Like what was going on from the macro golf community of, are you just getting shit canned everywhere? Are they trying to suppress you, or, oh, that's a cute little product, we'll see what happens? And now obviously the news is out. You guys have a major, I don't know if it's a buy. Is it technically as a buyout? Is it 100% buyout? What is that
No, but
structure? Majority.
Position.
And you were retained as the CEO to be able to execute the vision.
I'll be CEO for another probably 3-4 months or so.
Okay.
My role I'll be founder and chief innovation officer. So.
Okay. Oh, cool. Well, that's a cooler. Honestly, that title is even cooler.
I'm not as aforementioned around my technical business prowess and lack of education. You don't want me reading balance sheets or handling HR issues. So yes,
and who does?
Put back in a position to do my thing. But yeah, I mean, on the industry was fortunately asleep, particularly in the putter space. Most of our other competitors, putters are one of, a million different products that they offer between irons, drivers, balls, and whatever else. And generally putters were a loss leader for most companies. And so they didn't get the R&D, they didn't get the attention that they deserve. When I've heard stories about like what the Odyssey, R&D team looked like 5-6 years ago. There's nothing there, like it was just 2 guys in a closet, and you would think, this is the biggest putter brand in the world.
Well, 2-ball, 3-ball, what are they going to do? 4-ball? I think they maxed out their potential.
A dozen.
Yeah, and I think, and they're just drivers, the thing about selling a driver is, at least for a while before they all got maxed out, you could have empirical evidence to suggest buy this and you'll be longer. Whereas with putting, it's hard to, positively quantify why, some newer technologies are better for you, and where you've seen most of the marketing messaging around putters over the last 20 years has been about the face and about the ball roll, which no doubt is important, but it's not like that important. What's really important is that you do it the same way every time, whether your ball, gets into true roll, as quickly as a tour player or not, doesn't necessarily translate into more made putts. Can, but squaring up the face really helps you make more putts. And so, I don't know, man. They were
Sleep at the wheel.
These that we compete against are, and I've said this in a bunch of interviews, and I live with this reality all the time, that they're 2 to 5 generations removed from their founders and the values that ultimately got them to where they are, and they've since become marketing machines, and this isn't like a slight against them. I understand enough now, L.A.B being as big as it is, how these decisions get made at the board level and at the executive level and on down. But if you're, one of the major OEMs and you have this, technology out there that odds would dictate there is 0 chance that a single company can go from nowhere to actually impacting our market share. And in order to utilize the technology that they're offering us, I need a new building. I need 5 new engineers. I need a new manufacturing process. I need all this.
Mm-hmm.
Say no. We say, yeah, it's cool tech. Good luck. And and they don't actually think it's going to impact them until it was too late. The conversations I'd had with some of the OEMs were in like late 21, early 22, and then we steadily grew to where it was a sustainable company and we were profitable and selling putters. And then, after Lucas won back-to-back events in 2023, the demand was so significant that it just, it sort of forced their hands. And that's why you see them all, kind of copying us now, because they underestimated the potential for us to actually take market share. And when, even though they don't put a lot into putters, certainly the big four count on the putter department hitting certain numbers, and all of a sudden they weren't. And we were at that time now too valuable for them to just buy us and shelf the technology or do whatever. And so, they're all doing their best to enter what they're calling the zero torque space, which is not the right term, but and everybody's got everybody's got some version of it now.
Yeah.
Everybody, but there's still.
Don't you kind of find that universally? Again, it's not to shit on everything in golf. We love golf. The reason why we do this is because we're lifelong consumers of the game, and we love every aspect of it. But kind of even looking at it from what we do, there's just you see a lack of, let me just put it this way. You see a lot of small thinking in the golf space, like a lot of dopamine hits, even like you said, criticism that you guys have received for dominating some social media marketing. But I mean, you understand, look, it's going to be relatively easy, straightforward. Influencers, YouTube, high ROI, high conversion rates on sales. It makes a lot of sense for the immediacy of just flipping product and scaling and getting it into new eyes. But then when I look at some of these products, whether it's an equipment company, golf.com, even Golf Digest, they're trying to partner with either upstart or established digital media brands. And I see how they're rolling it out. And it literally, Sam, it drives me nuts, because it's like if ChatGPT, if they went in a room and said, how do we look like we're doing something different, but it's just this same corporate golf.
We would like
nonsense.
to connect with the youths. How do we connect with the youths?
And it's so obvious. And granted, yeah, these Utes. And I think, again, there's some percentage of that I totally get. Like I said, even with you guys, like you're going to give the young YouTube star a lab, and they're going to putt with it. They're going to excel. They're going to do a cheeky video. It makes a lot of sense in the short term. But I do wonder, you're about to be the leader of innovation. Where do you see Lab in kind of the golf lifestyle arena at all? Or is this going to just be laser focused on putter proliferation specifically?
Certainly in the immediate future, putters, or not even just putters, putting. One of the things that always kind of pissed me off about the industry in general is that the journey with a given brand or a given company seems to end as soon as you purchase the putter. And with our stuff, as aforementioned, sometimes there's an adjustment period, and we some of the best relationships with our customers that we have are the ones that reach out. They're like, God, lag putting really well, struggling from 8 feet. What can you do? And everybody in this building really, really, really loves what they do. We have a lot of fun. We golf a lot, which is different than you see from a lot of the other, the other companies. We prioritize everybody enjoying the game and staying stoked about the game. And when you're stoked about the game, you're stoked to talk about the game, just like you guys are. And so, we'll continue we'll just continue to develop that passion and foster it, and just make sure that everybody's stoked. If everybody's stoked, honestly, the rest of the shit kind of takes care of itself.
Stay stoked.
When people aren't, is when you have to hire people that are going to, ultimately make more spreadsheet-based decisions, and that's where you kind of get what you called just the small thinking. But no, man, we are going to continue to push our technology. I would say. It's certainly no longer in its infancy, but it's in its adolescence, and there's a lot of room to grow space that we, sort of created here in the low torque space, and there's innovations with that as the starting place. There's innovations to be made for years to come, and so we're pretty stoked about the future and what we might be able to do to help people putt a little better.
Can you maybe start working on a driver that you don't have to manipulate? You just somehow take it back and just let the driver swing itself? Is that possible?
Did you see my Golf Spies April Fools this year?
No.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
You did? Okay.
So they had, like an AI drawing of a lie angle balance driver. Shaft went like right in the middle of the head, and
oh fuck,
had a Lab logo all over it. Dude, I'm not kidding. I had a half a dozen touring professionals reach out and say, like, when can I get a sample of that thing?
Hey, release the list. Release the list, Sam.
I even had said his name and a few others, but in retrospect, I should be sparing it. But one of the lead analysts for one of the major networks reaching out during a major, asking me if one of the players was using our new driver.
Hell
And I was
yeah.
like, no, bro. It was
That's
a
okay.
so
Whenever we stop recording, you're gonna have to give me that name for personal satisfaction.
the USGA let us put the shaft in the middle of the head. So
That's funny. They get it because they've learned that this putter is not gimmicky. It's not marketing bullshit. It actually works. That's why it's growing. And if you did develop a driver that could do the same thing, phones would be
well,
ringing
to be
off the
fair, that
friggin'
rule
hook.
was in place long before L.A.B
So
existed.
you
Yeah.
did talk about like putting,
Fair.
putter. So I mentioned earlier, so the heel shafted variant just came out. And for
Mhm.
me, I've aesthetically, I've never just loved, I'm sure it's like anything else. If I had a center shafted putter for a month, I'd get used to it. Aesthetically, I haven't loved it. I'm sure that's some feedback you guys have received. So you moved out R&D heel shaft. But no BS. Like, so there's not a technology sacrifice here. There's not there's I guess how does that work? So I mean, just walk us through it with just a total novice on the technology side of why is the heel shafted putter here now, and why have I had it in my cart like 15 times and just haven't pulled the trigger yet?
So it's here because of the demand. To your point, I mean, there's just some people that just can't look at it. I would encourage all of those people that say that they can't look at it to give it a little bit more time. Particularly your idea about how you function with center shafted putters is based on traditional center shafted putters. When you onset the face as much as we do, particularly on our larger mallets and stuff, yes, they're center shafted. They don't play like center shafted putters because you can see the whole face. If you get like a Newport 2.6, the shaft bisects the top line.
Yeah, you're just seeing the shaft.
It's a little bit like that with some of the less onset stuff, like the Mez and the Oz. But like with the DF2, DF3, yes, they're center shafted, but they don't play that way. But yes, there was plenty of people that just couldn't look at it. There is precedent for a toe-up putter with the shaft on the heel, and in our testing, we had found that models prior, in order to achieve that particular torque profile, did so at the expense of consistency across the face. Because in order to get it to toe up, they had to put so much weight in the heel and remove so much weight to the toe that you have so much more mass on the heel side of the putter and zero mass on the toe side of the putter that off-center strikes were just wildly inconsistent. The further towards the heel you get from center, they come off like gunshots. You hit one off the toe and it goes nowhere. And so that was thing one we had to solve for. Thing two that we had to solve for was how to put the shaft over on the heel and still allow us to fit people into the enormous range of specs that we currently do. So lie angle balancing is a lot like whack-a-mole, where, okay, if you need to add weight over on this part of the putter in order to get the putter to balance a particular way, swing weight's now too high, or, you've taken too much away from the heel or whatever. You're always, it's kind of squeezing a balloon. Everything that you do to the putter, every issue that you solve has an effect on the torque profile, and then you have to work backwards from there. So we had the two issues that we had to solve for, was the sort of inconsistent faces, and then the ability to balance at all the different lie angles. Center shafting it the way that we do is very easy to do the whole range of lie angles because hole at a different angle, and that's that. When you move the shaft over on the heel, it's tricky. And I don't know if you've seen the videos, but the way that we managed it was we call it the riser. Traditional term is the hosel. It gets longer for the more upright lie angles in order to get it to where the shaft axis points, in a specific proximity to the CG of the putter, and then the little stubbier risers are for your flatter lie angles where the shaft is pointing out at that angle. So it was hard. It took a ton of engineering to figure it out. The way that we got around the consistency across the face, which, to be super clear, it is still more of a graduated face than our center shafted stuff. Hotter on the heel, softer on the toe. The margins are negligible. So that we managed to accomplish that. The engineers just tested a bunch of different materials that were lighter than stainless that were going to be just as strong. And we use a pretty specific type of aluminum that's a little bit more rigid than the stuff that we use for the heads. Put it through some crazy testing to make sure that it was durable enough. But I want to say it's about a quarter the weight of if the same piece was made out of stainless. And so taking that mass out of the heel had a huge impact on that graduated sweet spot. And then, to maximize or to get all the lie angles available. I mean, it was a bold choice, to have, your 69-degree putter look a lot different than your buddy's 74-degree putter. But what we found when we started experimenting with it was that over the putter, you couldn't tell the difference. Looking behind it on a worm cam, like your long necks and they look a little funny, but looking down at it, they look exactly the same. So once we solved those two issues, we got pretty stoked and knew it was going to be a pretty big hit.
It's like you guys are building race cars or something, man. This is high level engineering.
Yeah, no,
Damn right. And I mean, that's the beauty of being kind of, so specifically in the putter lane. It's like, in other companies who may have similar sized, engineering teams and machining teams, they get a month and a half to work on putters, and then they get a month and a half to work on wedges, and a month and a half to work on irons, and and so on and so forth. And this is all we do. And our team downstairs are we are to a point where we have the personnel and the resources to start failing. And what I mean by that is like we can try anything now and fail at it. And the magic and the creativity that is born out of those failures is ultimately what is going to continue to propel the company forward. Whereas when we were smaller, we had to set a very, very specific, goal to release a certain shape at a certain time and get it out the door and get it going. And now that the team is big enough and the focus is narrow enough that we don't want to leave any stone unturned, and we know that there's a lot of stones out there.
So the fitting process, though, so obviously not everyone's going to be able to go out and fly out to you guys and do an in-person fitting. I know you have the online fitting capability and also stock. I've heard you talk multiple times about how, hey, there's stock for a reason, that most people are here and you can try it out. And if there's really something out of whack, we can send a video of and make a tweak. But I go back real quick to the heel shaft. Does that make fitting more paramount based on some of the technology differences of that riser? Is that more?
No, in fact, it's actually particularly for your toe up people, it's actually easier to sort of fudge your setup to a little toe up with the HS than it is some of our center shafted stuff, because creating the same shaft angle doesn't pull the toe as far off the ground. Gotcha. So no, it's not more paramount, but it's the same. We want the putter sitting flush. We want to be able, want you to be able to sit the putter down without fighting it, aim it, and then take your grip. So we prioritize the way that putters sole. We're very deliberate about the amount of camber on the bottom of the putter and the soling space and the flat spots, so that people can comfortably set up over their putters without creating tension, trying to get them to stay still and square, while you're aiming it. So yeah, fitting's really important. That said, the tour level fitting that we do, like when we get guys that come out here and spend a day and a half with us and all of that, I'm a good player. I'm a scratch player. We've got probably 12, 15 scratch players in the building. None of us need or even necessarily benefit from going as deep as we do with some of our tour players. Even at a very high level of golf, all we really give a shit about is making sure that you're comfortable to make that setup without fighting it. Yes,
this is one of our hot topics, Sam. Is club fitting a scam? I mean, we get into this all the time.
No, it's not.
Well, but for okay, I hear you. It's not, but there are levels to this. And does someone who's just getting into golf need to go get fit?
Putting putting aside, From a full swing standpoint, it is phenomenally not. And
Just so you know, Mr. Golfberg and I have a big disagreement on this topic. So
no, I
I
mean,
won't spoil.
I've been fortunate enough to, have access to people that do this shit for a living and
Mhm.
know their stuff. And Michael Neff I think he's actually in the building right now, who with gears.
Get him on the pod.
You should.
No.
He's incredible, and
Okay.
gears
Oh yeah.
produces more truths than any platform out there. I mean, the shit's unreal. It's very cumbersome and difficult to use, but the number of people that I see build their golf swings around ill-fit equipment is absolutely an epidemic and keeps people out of the game and keeps people from improving. Period. Full stop.
Hell yeah.
The
Preach it, Sam.
I've got a friend who plays in our league out here, left-handed dude, so now automatically his equipment selection is limited. He's probably 5'4", real short arms, and this dude, basically needs to hit it a millimeter from the hosel, and plays, the gnarliest low loopy hook you ever saw, because that's all that his golf clubs are going to allow him to do. Like, his clubs ought to be 6 degrees flat, and and on from there. So no, I do not think it's a scam. I will tell you, putter fitting isn't a scam, but it's not. It's just a little overdone. When you look at the task of rolling a ball on a green from 12 feet versus trying to, swing a golf club at 100 miles an hour and locate it in a reasonably, area. They're totally different tasks, and so sort of micromanaging the way that the ball rolls or how you line it up and stuff like that, you're not going to get quite as big a result out of as you are a full swing fitting, except length and lie. So get the length and lie right. That's important. That's really important. It's also very easy. It's very easy to get the length and lie.
I'm glad you said that, because if you're trying to go build your custom putter on L.A.B, and if you didn't do the online fitting thing, there's so many selections for lie, and that's where it gets a little overwhelming. But if they did the online fitting, you guys would give a suggestion that would make sense for that. You would tell them what to select, or is there still a little bit of choice in there on look or?
No, we at the end of the conversation, you end up with a specific fitting. A lot of times it's like, our suggestion is 34 inches and 69 degrees and forth. Sometimes they'll send back that recommendation, and then the customer says, out of curiosity, I've always wondered about, if it would be more optimal at 33 inches or 35 inches. And then we say, well, let's check it out and go grab a 34-inch putter or 33-inch putter, and let's take a video there, and we can see what we see and see if the specs need to change at all or which is more optimal. So we work with the players through that process, but and we're going to continue to get better at it and continue to utilize technology in order to make cleaner suggestions for people and all that. But no, at the end of your conversation with your fitter, of your 1 to 3 email exchanges with them, you're going to end up with a very, very specific recommendation on length and lie.
Well, sign me up. So all right, Sam, I know we're up on our time allotment here, but Mr. Golfberg, I don't think we can launch into any more topics, but as we always say, you got to keep them coming back. You got to leave a little bit on the table. You got to get the fervor. But Sam, man, we really appreciate it. Obviously, outside of the Highland Park connections, been extremely interested in what's going on with L.A.B golf. So being able to chum it up with you from the source, seeing what's really going on, man, we really appreciate the time.
Anytime. I'd be happy to continue the conversation in a little while.
Yeah, just remember, we're the good guys. And lettuce heads, as always, stay plugged, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace.
Awesome.